Good evening, champions. I want you to do me a favor. Look at the person next to you and say, you've got more in you. Now look at yourself and say it again. I've got more in me, because you do. You were born with something greater inside of you than any challenge you'll ever face. But in order to tap into it, you've got to be mentally strong. Not just physically tough, not just emotionally resilient. I'm talking about that ironclad, unshakable mindset that refuses to break even when everything else is falling apart. Let me tell you something. Life doesn't play fair. Life will hit you with things you never saw coming. You'll lose people you thought you'd have forever. You'll be betrayed by people you trusted the most. You'll have dreams shattered, hearts broken, and plans crushed. And in those moments, the weak say, why me? But the mentally strong say, try me. Mental strength is not about pretending everything's fine. It's not about smiling through pain like a robot. It's about standing up when it's easier to stay down. It's about choosing progress over pity, discipline over distraction, growth over comfort. You know what keeps most people from rising? Their own minds. The enemy isn't always out there. It's often in here, points to head. The voice that says, you can't make it. You're not enough. It's too late. Let me tell you something. That voice is a liar. And every time you let it win, you give away your power. But every time you stand up, speak back, push forward, you're building mental muscle. So how do you stay mentally strong? First, you've got to protect your environment. Don't surround yourself with energy drainers, dream killers, people who talk small and think smaller. Get around people who speak life into you, people who believe in your future even when you doubt your present. Second, feed your mind daily. You can't expect to grow on yesterday's motivation. Read books. Listen to powerful messages. Write down your vision. Train your brain like you train your body. Because a weak mind will sabotage a strong body every single time. Third, embrace the struggle. I said embrace it, not just survive it, not just endure it, appreciate it. Because pressure creates diamonds, heat molds steel, and adversity, it introduces you to the version of you that comfort could never reveal. Let me ask you something. How bad do you want it? Because mental strength doesn't come from wishing, it comes from working, from failing and getting back up, from being doubted and showing up anyway, from fighting for your future when everything in your past tells you to quit. You want to be mentally strong? Then you've got to stop negotiating with your excuses. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. Stop telling yourself you're not ready. And start moving. Start building. Start becoming. There's a power in you the world hasn't seen yet. A fire in your belly. A roar in your spirit. It's time to unleash it. So when life comes at you with storms, you don't run. You plant your feet. You lift your head. You square your shoulders. And you say, I was built for this. I will not break. I am mentally strong. Now go out there and live like it. Protect your environment. Surround yourself with belief, not doubt. That's not just advice. That's survival. Your mind is a garden, and every conversation, every interaction, every influence is a seed. If you're not careful, you'll spend your days watering weeds planted by people who don't see what you see, don't dream like you dream, and can't imagine what you're capable of becoming. Your environment is not neutral. It's shaping you every single day. It's either building your belief system or breaking it down brick by brick. And if you keep letting doubt live in your space, don't be surprised when it takes root in your spirit. There are people in your life right now who are addicted to mediocrity. They're comfortable being average. They're allergic to ambition. They can't see past what's in front of them. And they want you to sit in that same fog. They don't mean to limit you, but they will, not out of hate, but out of habit. They've never seen someone break the mold, so they doubt it can be done. They've made peace with settling, so your hunger makes them uncomfortable. Your drive exposes their excuses, and your progress threatens their passivity. That's why you've got to protect your environment like your life depends on it. Because it does. Your future depends on who and what you let influence you. If you're the most driven person in your circle is too small. You need people who challenge you to rise, who won't let you stay stuck, who see your greatness even when you're buried under failure and frustration. You need voices around you that say, keep going, when everything in you wants to quit. Not the ones who say, maybe this isn't for you. Not the ones who say, be realistic. No, those voices don't get a seat at your table. Let's get one thing straight. Protecting your environment doesn't mean cutting everyone off, but it does mean setting boundaries with precision. It means being intentional about who gets access to your energy. You can love people from a distance. You can honor your past without being held hostage by it. You can say, I'm focused right now, and not apologize for it. You don't owe anyone an explanation for doing what's necessary to grow. Some of the strongest people you'll ever meet aren't the ones who shouted their goals. They're the ones who quietly rearranged their environment to support their vision. They changed who they spent time with. They switched off the noise. They turned their car into a classroom with audio books and inspiration. They traded gossip for growth. They stopped spending hours scrolling and started investing in becoming. They learned that discipline is not just about willpower. It's about what you surround yourself with. Because here's the truth. You can have the right mindset, the right heart, the right work ethic. But if you're in a toxic environment, it will slowly poison your progress. It'll eat away at your confidence, your creativity, your clarity. It'll have you second-guessing your instincts and shrinking your voice just to make others comfortable. And that's not strength, that's self-betrayal. Every time you dim your light to fit into places you've outgrown, you teach yourself to settle. And the longer you stay in that space, the harder it is to remember what you were capable of in the first place. So you've got to start asking the hard questions. Who around me inspires me to level up? Who drains me? Who celebrates my wins without jealousy? Who gives me truth, not just comfort? Who pushes me when I'm slipping? If you can't name anyone in those categories, it's time to seek new voices. They're out there, mentors, books, videos, communities. You are not alone. You just have to be willing to leave the noise long enough to hear something better. And understand this, belief is contagious, just like doubt. You spend enough time around people who believe in the impossible, and soon you start to believe it too. You hear them talk about goals that stretch the imagination, and suddenly your own goals seem small. You watch them bounce back from failure like it was just part of the process, and you stop seeing your own setbacks as signs to quit. That kind of energy is powerful. It's not hype. It's transformation. It's the difference between a life of excuses and a life of excellence. You weren't meant to play small. And deep down you know that. But you can't rise while surrounded by people who are committed to crawling. You can't think big when you're absorbing small talk. You can't chase a lion's dream in a room full of sheepish minds. The gap between where you are and where you want to be is often not a lack of skill, but a lack of support. Not a lack of drive, but a lack of alignment. And once you get in the right environment, everything starts to shift. You stop doubting so much. You start acting more. You start feeling like you're not the only one crazy enough to believe that greatness is possible. It's not magic. It's proximity. Proximity to power, proximity to purpose, proximity to people who won't let you forget who you are and what you're here to do. That's how belief is built. That's how strength is sustained. That's how mental toughness becomes your default. Feed your mind daily. Motivation is perishable. Just like your body needs food, your mind needs nourishment. Not once a week, not once a month, every single day. The thoughts you allow in your mind shape your decisions, your focus, and your direction. If you're not feeding it the right fuel, you're starving your potential. You're walking through life mentally malnourished, running on fumes, wondering why you can't get traction. You don't rise to the level of your ambition, you fall to the level of your habits. And mental strength is a habit built through consistent impact. Too many people wake up in the morning and immediately invite chaos into their minds. They check their phones, scroll through negativity, compare their lives to highlight reels, and wonder why they feel behind before they've even gotten out of bed. That's like putting poison in your coffee and wondering why you're sick by noon. You have to protect the first thoughts that enter your mind each day. You have to become intentional about what you listen to, what you read, and what you speak. Because what goes in comes out. Garbage in, garbage out. Greatness in, greatness out. Feeding your mind daily is not about hype, it's about discipline. It's about understanding that your mindset is a muscle, and if you don't use it, you lose it. Every time you read something empowering, every time you listen to a powerful message, every time you take time to reflect and write down your goals, you're reinforcing belief. You're reminding yourself of who you are, what you're about, and where you're going. And in a world designed to distract you, that kind of focus is rare. But that kind of focus is necessary. People talk about staying motivated like it's some mystical energy that shows up on special days, but motivation is not magic. It's management. It's what you do when no one's watching. It's what you do when there's no applause. It's what you do on the days you don't feel like it, because those days matter the most. Those days build the mental edge that separates the committed from the curious, the dedicated from the dabbler. If you want to stay mentally strong, you can't afford to wait for the feeling to show up. You've got to create it on command. And you do that by feeding your mind daily with thoughts that empower, not paralyze. You speak life into yourself. You remind yourself of your victories. You read the stories of people who overcame worse and still made it. You study greatness like your future depends on it, because it does. You don't casually skim through growth. You study it like a warrior sharpens their blade before battle, because every day is a mental battle. And if you're not prepared, you'll get knocked out before the fight even begins. Understand something powerful. The world will feed your mind if you don't. And what the world feeds you is fear, doubt, scarcity, division, drama. It will convince you that you're behind, that you're not enough, that your dreams are too big, that you should settle for less and be grateful for scraps. That's why feeding your mind daily isn't optional, it's survival. You're not just learning, you're unlearning. You're replacing lies with truth. You're replacing hesitation with clarity. You're replacing fear with fire. The mind is fertile ground. What you plant will grow. Plant confusion, you get anxiety. Plant criticism, you get insecurity. Plant faith, and you get courage. Plant discipline, and you get results. The problem is, too many people are planting nothing and expecting a harvest. You can't grow confidence without planting truth. You can't grow focus without planting structure. You can't grow discipline without planting repetition. Every word, every idea, every lesson, you're planting seeds. And those seeds don't sprout overnight, but give them time, feed them daily, protect them from negativity, and they will change your life. People look at successful individuals and think they must be gifted, but most of the time what separates them is what they feed their minds when nobody's watching. When others are numbing themselves with distractions, they're sharpening their vision. When others are binge watching failure, they're binge learning how to succeed. When others are complaining, they're training. Success leaves clues, and one of the biggest clues is this: what you feed your mind determines your fight. If you've ever wondered why you start strong and fade fast, check your mental diet. Starting strong takes motivation. Finishing strong takes mindset. It takes internal reminders, daily rituals, repetition of truth until it becomes your identity. Motivation doesn't last, not because it's weak, but because we forget. That's why you have to feed it every day, even when it feels repetitive, even when it feels boring, because repetition is the foundation of mastery. Champions aren't made by what they do once. They're made by what they do every day. And here's what no one tells you. Feeding your mind daily will make you uncomfortable at first. It will expose your excuses. It will challenge your habits. It will demand more from you than you're used to giving, but that's exactly what growth feels like. It's the stretching of who you are into who you could be. It's the breaking of old patterns so new ones can form. It's the shift from passively existing to actively designing the life you want. And you don't need hours each day, you need intention. 5 minutes of truth is better than an hour of noise. 10 minutes of stillness is better than a day of chaos. One powerful message, one page of the right book, one conversation with someone who thinks bigger than you that can shift your entire trajectory. The goal isn't quantity, it's consistency. The goal isn't hype, it's alignment. The goal isn't to feel good, it's to build good. Build thoughts that serve you. Build beliefs that strengthen you. Build routines that anchor you. Feed your mind like your life depends on it.